Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to my Chuck Norris retrospective and celebration stream. If you're watching this on the replay, you're just going to have to give me a minute here to get settled. Let me just double check. There's a lot of going on. I mean, there's something at 10 today. Somebody's watching a Chuck Norris movie. There's been many watch-alongs and so forth. There's been so much. I mean, everybody is sort of paying tribute to Chuck Norris on YouTube. So I know there's a lot. So I know not many people are able to tune in live. But if you're watching some of this on replay, give me about 30 seconds to check something, and then I'll get into it. I will be sort of going over the films of Chuck Norris, showing many of the physical copies I have. Maybe I'll give you some ideas about some of the ones that you want to pick up. And I have reviewed many of these, but we'll get into that. And then I have some points to make along the way about what made Chuck so great. Points that I was going to put a little more thought into, but frankly, ran out of time. So we'll wing it a little bit. I do have some notes here. Hey, Patrick is here. Wait, I see. I'm glad I double checked. Patrick, yeah. Patrick, listen, I'm so sorry, man. I keep forgetting about our stream, or I still want to do that stream. The last time you threw up your Facebook link, I thought I had it, but it was somebody else, because there's a word in your Facebook name that has something to do with like Yu-Gi-Oh or something. So a million Yu-Gi-Oh things popped up, and I picked the wrong one. If you want to do that real quick, I'll screenshot it, and then me, you, and Kenny will get that organized, because I'm going to lay off a little bit in April, I think, of YouTube and Instagram. But I want to switch over to doing a little bit more live things. So it's up to you if you want to do that now. But yes, I will be talking about one episode of Walker, Texas Ranger that I saw last night when I get to the approximate time period that Chuck was in Walker, Texas Ranger. And for those of you who want to see or watch a video review of a great episode called A Shadow in the Night, yes, I do have Facebook. Patrick. Yeah, I think it's I'm Dan Marks on Facebook. It's just I'm pretty sure that's just what it is. But check out Patrick's review of A Shadow in the Night, which is a really good one, because that involves some Japanese hitmen and somebody from Walker's past, and there's some pretty good martial artists involved in that one, people that he actually worked with in films before. Yeah, I could figure out a way to get you my Facebook, Patrick. Maybe next time you go live or something, I'll come in early or something. We could do it that way. Okay, I will find you. All right. You know what I look like. Sounds good. Yeah, we'll set that up. I really want to do that. I even have an idea for like the next one. But anyway, Chuck Norris, what a legend. For some of you know that I've been doing Norris November. I don't know who coined that term. Was it Mike from Mike's DVD and Blu-rays? And I just took the ball and ran with it. So 2 years ago, I did 10 movies. Last November, I think I reviewed 8. And, let's face it, I did most of the good ones. I've got a few of his later ones left and a few of the other ones that I skipped. But then I've also got Walker, Texas Ranger. So I've been really getting into that. Or I have the first 2 seasons. You only have season 1. Yeah, I did pick up season 2. I did. So I'm only on season 2. And we're talking 196 episodes. I mean, that was really like a cultural phenomenon. It wasn't something I was going out of my way to watch back then. I was kind of a younger guy doing stuff. And every once in a while, I caught part of an episode. I know I remember seeing one with John Savage. The one that I'm going to talk about had a stacked cast. Including Richard Norton, the late, great Richard Norton. But I'm going to get into that in a minute. It was a season 1 episode. Anyway, let's go back to the beginning. Chuck Norris. And, a lot of people are on Instagram and social media talking about, they're finding old interviews. And there's a great interview with Chuck where he's talking about how Steve McQueen was urging him to get into acting. And he was like, I don't know. I'm retired as a fighter. do I want to be like an unemployed actor? And McQueen said, basically just convinced him that you've got what it takes, and encouraged him to give it a try, and basically said, you've been training me for 3 years and you keep telling me not to give up and everything. So, it's sort of a great origin story. I just reviewed. I didn't see that, Patrick, but I will check that out. That is one that I don't own. I always think I own it, but then I don't have it. Yeah. So great sort of beginning story. Most people know that he was a veteran. He was in the Air Force. He was stationed in South Korea. He saw people training, and he was like, what is that? Like, how are they kicking like that? So he started to take up Taekwondo, or maybe it was Tang Soo Do. I'm not really sure. Eventually, he would create his own sort of fighting system. But he was an adult when he started, so it's never too late, right? I guess, he didn't start as a child. And he was very sort of self-effacing. That's what I'll come back to it. But that's one of the points that I want to make. He wasn't hung up on my style's better than your style. He would later incorporate other styles, and including jujitsu and things like that, into his training system. So then he was in a movie, Room 22. He was in an episode of The Wrecking Crew in 1968. Then he was in something called a TV series called Room 22. And then the big breakout, Way of the Dragon, the Coliseum fight with Bruce Lee. Something that was like whispered about when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, they just didn't play Bruce Lee movies in the afternoon on Kung Fu Theater. They were like special events, on usually at night, I think. But man, what a great fight. He's a villain in that. He does what he's supposed to do as far as the villain role goes. And it's a great fight. It's almost like a point or it's like a full contact karate fight at first. And Chuck is sort of getting the better of him, even though Bruce gets a fistful of chest hair. But then Bruce starts incorporating some Western footwork, and he's going in and out, and he gets the better of Chuck, of course. And Chuck did have charm. Yes, he did. And right from the beginning too. You know what I mean? I don't think he gets enough credit. He got to that point where he like kind of made fun of himself a little bit and spoofed himself, but he was always sort of very self-effacing and never took anything too seriously. And Patrick says, Room 22, fun show. Okay, I got to check it out. But yeah, like it's just a great fight, and it's kind of cool that Bruce was incorporating other styles in there, and he was also one that wasn't so hung up on, one style is the best. So that's pretty cool. I even remember skipping ahead. My dad wasn't the type of person to be he wasn't really a martial arts movie fan. I would have loved to have seen An Eye for an Eye or Good Guys Wear Black in a theater, but he just wasn't into taking me. But eventually, I forget which movie it was. We saw a commercial for a movie, and he kind of chuckled at a line, and he said, he's really learned to make fun of himself. He's not that bad. And the truth is, he was never really. He was always pretty good, at the roles that he chose from the beginning, I think. Then next up, we have, he was in something called Student Teachers. Small part, I would imagine. Then he was in Slaughter in San Francisco, a.k.a. Yellow-Faced Tiger, a Golden Harvest movie starring Don Wong, where he basically just played the villain. So it's not really a Chuck Norris movie. It's a Golden Harvest movie set in San Francisco. I have reviewed it on the channel. It's a lot of fun. It's the nice time capsule movie as far as San Francisco goes. And Chuck gets the job done as the villains. Apparently he wasn't crazy about having a cigar. Later, I guess he would change his mind for Firewalker, but because he was so health conscious, he did live a pretty clean life for sure. But it is a fun movie. And next up, we have Breaker. Objectively, maybe not the greatest movie in the world. I think it's fun. There's something about it that's fun. I don't, I know they did it on Riff Tracks or something but it's fun. They were capitalizing on the trucker and CB radio craze, which was a thing. And they somehow made this into a movie with Chuck Norris, filming in essentially an abandoned looking town with dirt roads, and George Murdoch is in it. I mean, it's fun. It's got some good fight scenes. Next, the big one, Good Guys Wear Black. Really an interesting film when you think about it. This one stars Ann Archer, Dana Andrews. Wow, I've seen a lot of older Dana Andrews movies, like film noir movies from the 40s. So I'm going to have to go back and rewatch this again and sort of appreciate his character a little more now. Jim Backus is in this, and James Franciscus. And it's directed by Ted Post, who directed several episodes of Rawhide. Would go on to direct many other action stars, including Clint Eastwood. And this is really interesting. This is a political thriller. The 70s were, there was a CB radio craze. Okay, so that's like kind of a throwaway fun movie, but there were a lot of political thrillers in the 70s. And this is a pretty darn good one. Does he use martial arts? Yeah, a little bit. Of course, he's Chuck Norris. He kicks a guy off a motorcycle. It's a good scene. But even the ending is much more like something that you would see in a political thriller like 3 Days of the Condor. It's not a big fight scene at the end. That's not the climax. And it's really pretty good. I think people tend to think of all Chuck Norris films as in the world of martial arts or martial arts oriented, when in fact some of them, there's many different types of films. Breaker was slow. Yeah, it did. That's true. That's true. That's true. Bruce let Chuck have a lot of offense, and those cats were mirroring the fight. Yep, that was weird, right? Yeah, that was pretty funny, actually. They did some weird things in the 70s. Next up, we've got A Force of One. This is the one that I don't have. I always think I do. Now, this is one where he's sort of introducing the world of martial arts. He is a competitive fighter who gets involved in helping the police because people are being killed. And this has been done many times since then. Bruce's Iron Finger. I just reviewed that a while ago. It has a similar plot. I don't know which one came first, but somebody's killing people with martial arts. And the cops, including like Pepe Serna and Ron O'Neal, are like, I don't know if I believe that. Well, they get Chuck to help them. And the film, do I spoil these films? They've been out decades. The film also stars Bill Superfoot Wallace, who is a martial arts competitor and friends with Chuck. Now, I just want to point out, on Instagram, you will see footage of them fighting each other, and people will present that as, here's one of Chuck's old fights. No, that they never actually fought. That's just from this movie. Okay? Bill Superfoot Wallace, by the way, was the guy, he was John Belushi's bodyguard, and he actually was the one that found John Belushi after he overdosed. And they got a little subplot about skateboarders being drug couriers, because skateboarding was hot in the 70s too. So it's again, a pretty good time capsule, pretty good look into the martial arts world with, obviously, you're going to have well choreographed fight scenes. And let me make another point about Chuck. He had a lot of good co-stars. Like I said, Ron O'Neal, Jennifer O'Neal, no relation, different spelling, but you had Ann Archer in the other one. He really did have some pretty good co-stars in these films, people that were recognizable actors in those genres. So he's in a cop film. He's got Ron O'Neal. Later, he would have Richard Roundtree as a co-star. Of course, they were often on the opposite side of the law in their films, but you know what I'm saying. It holds up really well. Yep, I think it does. Next up is the film The Octagon. Okay, so now he's sort of setting this one in the world of martial arts, but it's sort of in the mystical ninja assassin part of that world. Okay, it's got that this crazy sort of voiceover where he's like this inner dialogue, which is it might seem kind of quaint, or maybe kind of cool, but it was different. They tried some different things. This one stars Lee Van Cleef and Richard Norton. There he is again. He plays a couple roles in this. He's the masked ninja, the head ninja who you never see his face, so that allows him to also play another role. And they have some great fight scenes, and it was pretty wild. Chuck actually almost drowned somebody by accident, but and the director actually would slow some of Richard Norton's fights down frame by frame, because he couldn't see him disarm people. It was so fast, so he was slowed it down so he could check that out. Art Hindle is in this, so lots of good people in this. The pacing is not great, like Patrick mentioned with Breaker. The pacing's a little off here and there. Could have been tightened up maybe, but overall, it's pretty iconic. It's got some great scenes. Jennifer O'Neal was a beauty. Yes, she sure was. The Octagon or American Ninja? I'm going to go with American Ninja. I'm going to go with The Octagon. I do like American Ninja. And we'll talk about Steve James, another great co-star of Chuck's, in a little bit, in a couple movies. Next up, we have An Eye for an Eye. This is where he's playing a cop, and you have Richard Roundtree and Christopher Lee as the villain. So again, some really good people, lots of good action, some pretty good stunt work, pretty good fight scene. I believe Mako is his master in this, and I believe this is the one with Professor Tanaka. Another one I always think I have, but I don't, unless it's on a compilation that I missed. And then next up, we have the first of, I would say, probably like 3. There's definitely 2, like horror films. This will be the first one. Silent Rage, starring Ron Silver. Brian Libby plays the villain. He had a small role in The Octagon. You see that a lot with Chuck's films, a lot of the same co-stars. Science created him. Now Chuck Norris must destroy him. Yeah, like a pretty good sort of horror film that happens to have a martial arts sheriff played by Chuck Norris involved. Yeah, really solid film. And then we have, let's see, then we have then Forced Vengeance. Okay, this one takes place in Hong Kong. It's a really cool sort of time capsule to see Hong Kong before the handover, which they mention. And it's really cool. He's a security guy for a casino who gets involved with some bad guys. This is directed by James Fargo, who also directed some Clint Eastwood movies. A couple. And it's a lot of fun. Great Hong Kong scenery and great fight with this neon sign as a backdrop. And yes, Chuck did have a lot of babes in his movies. I mean, Ann Archer back in the day was a sight to behold, for sure. Next up, this is one, okay, I got to be honest. When I rewatched this and I have reviewed it, I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. It's a little bit lower down. A lot of them were very elevated. A lot of the older Chuck movies were much better than I thought they would be, or than I remembered. This one wasn't quite as good. It is fun. Lone Wolf McQuaid. I mean, David Carradine. Great co-stars. R.G. Armstrong and L.Q. Jones in the same movie. Barbara Carrera. There you go. There's another attractive woman for sure, and she's actually plays a pretty good part in this. Leon Isaac Kennedy. It's fun, you know. He did have some iconic vehicles in his movie, and the I don't know what it is, like a Bronco in this one. You know, almost you know the scene, the resurrection scene. It is a fun one for sure. And again, I guess he's almost like sort of prototyping his Texas Ranger character in this. Then next we have Missing in Action. So we've got the first 2 Missing in Actions filmed back to back. I reviewed these. I've talked about how they flip-flopped them and released the second one they filmed first. And those are both very solid. Check out my reviews. Soon Tech O is the villain in Missing in Action at the beginning, I think. I can't remember which one. Yeah, I think that's Missing in Action in the beginning. He's a great villain. These are really fun prisoner of war films. And there we have Code of Silence, directed by Andrew Davis. This is another very solid cop film. And it's got some really good co-stars. It's also tackles some pretty tough subjects. You know, there's a corrupt cop in here, and Chuck has to deal with that and sort of become like the black sheep of the department as he's trying to, you know, fight Henry Silva, who's the bad guy. Solid movie. And if you go back and watch the Letterman review or interview, he talks about how he wanted to get his ass kicked in this movie. You know, for all the Chuck Norris memes, he went out of his way to make himself human in a couple scenes. We'll talk about another one coming up soon. But, you know, he said, you know, the sort of the assembly line fighting that you see in movies is ridiculous. You got 10 guys around you. Eventually, you're going to get your ass kicked. So he wanted that to happen in this movie just to make it a little more realistic, even though there's some really good Chuck ass-kicking action in this, but very good. Very, very good film. Yeah. Lone Wolf McQuaid was better behind the camera. Yeah, I've read about some of the crazy stuff. Carradine and Chuck didn't like each other. Yeah. I apparently, I think they had to speed up some of Carradine's kicks and everything, and Chuck wasn't thrilled about him as a co-star. I don't know if he was drinking or not. Eventually, soon after that, he would be in that one Future War movie, which they did on Riff Tracks, where they commented that he was obviously not even just hungover in the movie, but like he's pretty much drunk on camera, trying to disguise his walk. So yeah, he was a character, but still a fun one. And then next we have, where is it? Do I have it on here? Yeah, I have it. I think I have it on two areas. It's on here. Invasion USA. Just completely batshit crazy movie. Billy Drago's in it. Yeah, it's just, it's Invasion USA. It's a cartoon of violence. Many people's favorites, but very few of them will say that it's objectively like his best. And then we have Delta Force. What can you say? Lee Van Cleef. Okay, pretty good movie. And who plays the villain? Robert Forster. Yeah, it's just solid action movie. Delta Force. Steve James is in it. Yeah, I really wish we could have had more of the two of them side by side, not just in this movie, but in other films. But a really solid one. Delta Force 2. Let me just mention Delta Force 2 real quick. It comes out years later. Didn't like that one as much. That's in the Colombian Connection. Some pretty good people in it, like John P. Ryan, but yeah, it's okay. And then we have Firewalker. I don't have that. Yeah, that's a fun one. Didn't quite do everything that it wanted to do. They're obviously going for an Indiana Jones vibe to a degree. John Rhys Davies even shows up in the last quarter of the film, but it's Louis Gossett Jr. and Chuck Norris. They have good chemistry. It's still a fun time. You just got a multi-pack with 3 Chuck movies in it. Okay, cool. Not this one, because I have another one. Oh, I think I know which one it is, Patrick. I got one more multi-pack to show. And I also have this Canon blockbuster, 10 blockbuster. So Invasion USA is on this one too. And so is Delta Force. I have a couple of these a few times over. Multi-pack mania, yeah. And then you had Braddock, Missing in Action 3. This was filmed some years later. I know you guys really can't see that. And it's pretty good. This time he's trying to take, he's rescue some Amerasian children and take them to safety. And he's got some crazy rocket launchers and things. And, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. The villain, I think the villain in that would show up in that episode he would be one of the Japanese characters in that episode, Shadow in the Night. I forget his name. But his villain character, he was just kind of chasing Chuck most of the time and getting frustrated. They didn't really have a confrontation. But that's a fun one. Next, Hero in the Terror. I believe this is the one where Chuck wanted to show his human side. Well, in a roundabout way. First of all, this is another sort of horror movie. It stars Jack O'Halloran, who played Nog in Superman 2. And I think he's from Jersey. I think he's from close to here, Runnymede. And he was, I think, surprisingly, his first role, I didn't know this, was in a Robert Mitchum movie. I don't know if it was I forget the name of the detective. It was a Robert Mitchum movie, and he didn't just play a thug. He had he had a lot of lines. That was his first movie, and then he kind of went into playing like these thuggish villains that didn't speak very much, if at all. But yeah, he's the villain in this. He's kind of scary. Steve James is in this. I wish his character had a little more to do, and it's pretty good. There's a scene where Chuck has to rush to the hospital when his wife is giving birth, and he thought it would be funny if they played a little prank on the crew. So during that scene, he fainted. And the director later said, "Hey, we're going to leave that in. It looks great." And Chuck said, No. I can't faint on camera. But then he started thinking about it, and he started thinking about how during the birth of one of his daughters, he actually did get lightheaded once and had to run into the bathroom and splash water on his face. So he said, "You know what? We will leave that in." He changed his mind. And his character, comes across as a little more human. And actually, in the beginning, he's reliving the failed attempt to capture this guy in the first place. So his character is a flawed character in this, despite all the memes about him being invincible, he wasn't afraid to do this. Kind of a fun one. Next, we had Delta Force 2, which we talked about, and then The Hitman. Hitman is pretty good. I mean, it's got some pretty good people in it. Michael Parks. This is directed by Aaron Norris. So rather than really go into details about the plot, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's not my favorite, but it's pretty good. I'll just say that. You've got Aaron Norris, his brother who started directing, and then you had Mike Norris, who played his son in The Octagon when they did the flashbacks. He's had a pretty good career. He's in that episode of Walker, Texas Ranger I'm going to talk about. And, Aaron Norris directed Missing in Action 2. And I got to tell you, as I said in my review, there's some scenes in that are just, there's all kinds of stuff going on when they depict the fall of Saigon. He really directed the heck out of that scene. That was a really complicated scene that went on for a while. So he's really turned into a good director. So as far as Chuck's family members, I mean, they've all had very legitimate careers on their own. And then you have Sidekicks. I got to be honest with you, never got into it. I've never seen it, guys. I guess I should see it. Maybe I'll do it for this Norris November. Then we have something called Wind in the Wire, a TV movie. I think I missed. Did I miss? I think I forgot to write one down. Yeah, I must have. Richard Lynch was a great heavy. Yes, that's the thing. Richard Lynch. Yep. Another great heavy for Chuck. Yeah. Invasion USA. I couldn't think of that at the time. It didn't click, but Richard Lynch, yeah, he's like perfect in that. Somewhere in there, right around the Hitman time, was also Hellbound, which is arguably the third movie that has some horror elements, maybe some fantasy elements. It's okay. I see Cherie J. Wilson is in this. Christopher Neame is in this. He was in some Hammer films. And music by George S. Clinton. Directed by Aaron Norris. Yeah, it takes place in the Middle East, and there's prophecies and things like that. It's okay. Not as memorable as some of the other ones. I will watch it again, though. So then Walker, Texas Ranger, somewhere in there from 1993 to 2001, he starts Walker, Texas Ranger, 196 episodes and a few TV movies. And he would appear, I'll skip ahead a little bit. He would appear on an episode of Martial Law as his Cordell Walker character. I definitely have to go back and rewatch that. But I don't remember that. And we used to watch Martial Law every week as a family because we were so excited that Sammo Hung was getting a TV series. It just seemed like crazy to us because we were renting all his movies. But I don't remember that one, so I'll have to check that out. In between there was Top Dog, another one that I haven't seen. Forest Warrior, which I have not seen. And then we have Logan's War, Bound by Honor. So is this the one you have, Patrick? And then you also have two movies on here, The President's Man, A Line in the Sand. So I think he is playing the same character in those. And then you have a TV movie, Walker, Texas Ranger, Trial by Fire, from 2005. Then you have The Cutter, which is pretty late stage Chuck Norris movie, which I have reviewed on the channel. Has that kind of early 2000s feel to it with the special effects and everything. It's got Bernie Capel. It's a pretty good story, though. It's definitely pretty decent. Chuck, for his age, not surprisingly, he does a great job in that film. And then the cameo in Expendables 2, 2012. Towards the end there, I missed a little bit. He was on some TV shows playing himself, but I didn't really get into all that. But yeah, let's say Sammo Hung was a badass. Yeah, amazing show. I mean, he did amazing on that show, as he always did. Introduced a lot of audiences to some of his capabilities, like fighting with benches and jumping through open car windows. I mean, was the show itself the greatest ever? No, but Sammo was awesome. I'm just plugging myself in here. And Patrick also said Sidekicks is funny as hell. Okay, I'll definitely check it out. That was one that came out. I don't know if it was 4K. It came out with an edition of that a while ago. Everybody was going nuts for it, but it was up there in price. But I'll probably get it. Rip Champ. Oh, Gary. Oh, somebody else. Gary Thompson. Rip Champ. Yeah. Rest in peace to the great Chuck Norris. Forest Warrior sounds like a Seagal movie. Yeah, it does. It does. I don't know if he has like an ecological message. I think he does. I think I've seen a clip of it and he's all dressed up in, sort of almost like native garb. Of course, he did co-star with Floyd Red Crow Westerman in Walker, Texas Ranger. That was sort of an integral part of that series. Having said that, I'm on season 1, so I'm not an expert on the show. And I did forget to talk about that one episode, which we'll do it now. And there was another one Patrick said that he didn't see. Okay, well, yeah. Okay, let's go. Yeah, so Walker, Texas Ranger, season 1, episode, it looks like episode 5, Storm Warning. No one should go nuts for sidekicks, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, that sidekicks to me is like something you pick up from Hamilton book for like, less than $10. That's just me. I'm not. So I'm not opposed to watching it, but yeah. Storm Warning. This was crazy. This starred Mike Norris, his son, who plays a jail guard who gets taken hostage by a bunch of escaped convicts during a storm. And during this whole time, Trevette is infiltrating the convicts as a character called Snake. It's pretty funny. He's got a bandana on and an earring, and he's acting like a real hard ass. In the beginning of that, to establish his identity, he's hanging out in a bar with all these other criminals and stuff, and he gets into a confrontation a little bit with one Mr. Kane Hodder. Okay, now, disappointingly, that was the end of Kane Hodder's scene. I would have liked him to be one of the convicts, but eventually, these convicts are on a bus during a storm. The bus, a tree falls in the bus, a la The Fugitive. They escape. And who are the convicts? It's a murderer's row. We've got Richard Norton, Louis Guzman, and Tiny Lister. Tiny Lister is hilarious. He's like a big baby. He's almost like Michael Clark Duncan in The Green Mile. He's afraid of the storm and everything. So physically, he's not much of a threat. It's the other guys that are. Louis Guzman is like, he picks, pretty much picks a fight with Trevette from the beginning. There's eyeballing each other like he just wants to start some problems with him. Richard Norton has done a lot of bad things that they allude to in the beginning, and he's kind of like a psycho that's got kind of keeping everything under control, and they basically take over this hotel that's abandoned and also take the proprietors, man and wife, hostage. And the woman has a sister who's in a wheelchair upstairs, who's hiding upstairs. And Walker sneaks in and starts talking to her. She thinks everything is hopeless. He kind of convinces her that it's not. And she actually helps him basically, save the day. And there's a couple scenes where, eventually he links up with Trevette and they have to like whisper to each other because Trevette is still sort of undercover and everything. Yeah, Debo. I always love seeing that guy and things, man, rest in peace. He was awesome. But a really good episode. Like I said, it's the 5th one, I think. So you can skip ahead and watch it or just start from the beginning and watch the whole thing. Again, as far as co-stars, one thing that I thought was cool is the first 3 episodes, James Drury plays the chief, the head of the marshals, his boss. And sadly, he was only in the first 3 episodes. James Drury from The Virginian. So that was cool because I've been watching The Virginian recently. And then to see him in there. Yeah, knowing that Richard Norton's going to pop up several more times, and then he's also going to have some really good co-stars and martial artists to square off against. I'm really excited to keep watching Walker, Texas Ranger. So for November, I'll be reviewing some of the Chuck Norris films that I haven't seen yet. Maybe reviewing some other films that Mike Norris has appeared in. I don't know off the top of my head if Aaron Norris directed any films that Chuck doesn't appear in, but that's a possibility. Yeah, I don't think Rothrock was ever on the show. That would have been great, though. But her and Norton together are great. I know Jeff just had a watch party for Black Creek, and considering that was almost like a crowd-funded, low-budget Western, it was great. Oh, and I'm glad I'm on that tangent now. One of the other things I wanted to bring up is that, Chuck was very legitimate. And speaking of Black Creek, Benny the Jet Arquitez is in that, in a small part. And, he appeared in Jackie Chan movies, and he was a very legit kickboxing champion and everything. There's a clip of him, a 57-year-old Chuck, sparring with Benny the Jet, who's holding these pads, and he kicks Benny the Jet a couple times. The second one, Benny the Jet, who, has sparred and been in kickboxing matches, kind of has to shake his hand out, and he's got this smile on his face, like, wow. And these kicks sound like gunshots. It's amazing. And that was when he was like 57. So he was very legitimate, I think. But when, I've heard him talk about his kickboxing career, I think he lost 10 times. He did beat Joe Louis 3 times. Joe Louis was very legitimate, appeared in a few movies himself. One of the losses was to sort of an up-and-coming guy, and Chuck actually saw him before the match, and the guy looked like a nervous wreck, so he started talking to him, and he basically told him not to be so nervous and gave him some words of encouragement, and then he lost. Then he beat Chuck. So a very sort of self-effacing guy, and just a cool guy all around, I think, personally. And Jeff from 101 Bronson is here. Hey, Jeff. I know that Jeff has been, what did you watch yesterday? I think you watched something yesterday. I just couldn't. I was in the middle of a project. I couldn't stop it. But obviously, big fan of Chuck and Richard Norton and Cynthia Rothrock. So we'll just hang out for another minute so we could just say hi to each other. And once again, I know there's lots of people watching Chuck Norris movies this weekend. I think I'm going to review. I might do a review this week of that Storm Warning episode of Walker, Texas Ranger. Jeff, have you ever seen that episode? It's called Storm Warning from season 1. It's got Richard Norton in it, Louis Guzman, Tiny Lister, and Mike Norris. It's a really good cast for that episode. Cue the theme to Delta Force, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, that's a good soundtrack. I like the soundtrack to Silent Rage or soundtrack, and sort of the ambient noises in that film are pretty cool. The Breaker Breaker song, not so much. You have season 1 on DVD, but it's been a while since I've seen it. Yeah. I'm going through it for the first time, and I'm really having fun with it. I watched a couple episodes last night. I'll probably be accelerating Walker, Texas Ranger into the rotation. But yeah, it's a good one to check out again, for sure. Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Patrick, Jeff, Gary, who stopped in real quick. And once again, I just wanted to go over the career of the late, great Chuck Norris. And if you haven't seen my video for the Matt Clark retrospective, he was a character actor who appeared with Chuck in, I believe it was it may have been, what was it? It was, it may have been A Force of One. I think it was A Force of One as a cop. Check that out. And, I don't do this every time someone passes away, but obviously for Chuck, I got to do something. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I'll see you later. Appreciate you guys coming out.